What is good, everybody? Man, happy Thursday, man. Adam, how are you feeling? You've got on your on-chain monkey hat, celebrating a Bitcoin show.
Love Bitcoin. We're missing Chris today. Chris is down with the Aztecs down in was it Cozumel or what the hell is he right now? I don't know.
Somewhere
Down in Mexico somewhere, living the dream. So it's just the two of us holding the fort. Feels empty without Chris here. So big shout out to Chris. Climbing pyramids today, I think. So he's having a good time down there.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, isn't that crazy? Me and you hosted this show pretty much solely for like 2 years.
Bro.
And then Chris came on, and
it's literally thousands of shows, bro. I don't even, the numbers are, it's crazy,
dude. Dude, through all of the ups and downs, you know, from the 1,000-person shows to the 3-person shows, and then now
you did have a 0-person show there. I don't know what happened. The Twitter algo totally screwed us one day. We had literally 0 people.
You know, through the thick and thin of it all. I mean, right now in the crypto market, it's Bitcoin's at an all-time high. TradFi is basically using crypto as exit liquidity through Bitcoin treasuries. But man, doesn't it feel like sentiment and everyone's just been like washed out? Like there was a point last night where there was not a single spaces like happening on my timeline. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I mean, it really is. It's the ETF cycle. We've talked about this a bunch. Like when the liquidity is all coming into the ETFs and the MicroStrategy of the world and not to on chain, there's literally nobody to buy our bags. It's just us. We're eating each other's tail. And, you know, we've been saying it for a while. It feels like something needs to be built to attract the next round of people. And, you know, I know a bunch of people trying stuff. We're trying stuff. Everybody's trying stuff. But until you have kind of that breakthrough, you know, we're all it's just us, man. You know, we're on this lifeboat and, you know, you just got to keep working. That's the way it is. And something will eventually come and that will be the next kind of big thing, but it hasn't happened yet, or we would all know it. It would be very obvious, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why we're here with Oviato, a returning guest on the show, this time with a different product. You know, Adam and I are actually talking a little bit before the show here. All of the different teams that have created a project, you know, then kind of pivoted into a different direction that's usually kind of born out of something that you had to create initially. Adam actually has a good example, which I'll let him share here with Virtuals. Emblem's also, you know, one of these teams as well, right? Built a whole vaulting cross-chain solution for 5-6 years. built in now, an AI product as well as some other things, and so it's always very important. But Adam, yeah, I'd love for you to set up the virtuals kind of conversation. It'll probably be a good.
Yeah, I mean, we all know virtuals, right? They've been the massive winner in the last 6 months, obviously. But I have a DM with them where going all the way back to like 2020, where they pitched me the various things. It was like it was an NFT project, then it was a DAO, then it was an investment, like all this stuff, like as they pivoted. And the last one's the virtuals one. And so you just say, wow, you have to be open to pivoting. And we've done that a lot. You can still have the underlying tech, right? You learn and you iterate and you iterate and you iterate until you find product market fit or find the next thing to work. I mean, we've hit product market fit at least once and kind of like 1.5 times, right? But it's like, you gotta keep working and you gotta keep iterating. And I don't think there's a better place than crypto to do that, honestly. Because it really is. It's the type of thing where you can hit and it hits in a day. You dominate the timeline and your life and your business is completely transformed. So that's what we're all kind of working for, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, Oviato, how are you guys doing today? Also, how was Bitcoin Vegas? We didn't get to meet up while we were there, but I know that you guys were out running around. So how was that adventure?
GM, hey Adam and Jack. Thanks for having us here. Yeah, I think Vegas was Vegas was fun. Yeah. Oviato is basically what we decided to do was we wanted to make sure that there is more than 5 of us in order 5 of us playing around with our tools. So we ended up to figure out ways how do we bring more people onto this ecosystem, and this is how we end up creating. We actually created this demo of a wallet using native passkey wallet demo, and then we ended up going to a bunch of people at Vegas, and this question that we kept getting was, how do I use that in my product? So this is how we ended up here. We basically are creating a service where other people can use this technology to onboard new people. So there is more than 10 people who are playing with the things that we're building, right? So the 10 is, of course, it's not a literal number, but just referring to how few people are actually in this space.
Yeah. Hold on. I have here pulled up on our live stream the Oviato kind of thread that's pinned to the top, and it says passkey native wallet infrastructure built for social distribution. There was a recent product that was acquired for somewhere in the 9-figure range called Privy that was acquired by Stripe. Is this something similar to that, but for Bitcoin?
This is at a very surface level, yes, because Privy is a wallet as a service provider. We also a wallet as a service provider. Privy is based on, they're very much focused on EVM and Solana. We are on Bitcoin. And even though we are chain agnostic, we are, of course, on Bitcoin first. And the other thing is we are actually passkey native. Like there is a lot of people using passkey, but the way they use passkey is you would log in with your email or with any other wallet, and then you enable passkey. So you're using passkey as a way to log in. Rather than that, we actually built a whole wallet on top of passkey. So there's a big difference. And I also have, just before I actually wrap up, what we also ended up doing is we moved all our ordinal tools, the tools that artists love and use. Thousands of people use our tools into a different domain, and they're still accessible. And that's where we're going to be creating. It's sort of like a playground. It's called ovi.fun. So we're going to use the SDKs and things that we built inside ovi.fun to demonstrate what is possible. And we also have Apo and Mark from the team. Apo is the CTO, Mark is the CBO, and I think in Oviato account is Teflon. Yes.
GM.
What's good? Thank you guys for coming on. Yeah, Adam, isn't it interesting looking at this something very similar to Emblem, where we built the Emblem infrastructure and then we realized, or then we started building an AI tool, and then the AI is kind of built on top of Emblem, but the application kind of takes a little bit more precedent because that's where the market is kind of moving, where they're doing the same thing. They built Oviato, the creator studio. That's what they were here last time for. Very similar to the OpenSea NFT studio, but for Bitcoin and for ordinals. And then they built this internal infrastructure, which more people seem to be interested in. So they're kind of integrating both of those together.
Yeah.
Some of the kind of key things here, and then I'll pass it off to Adam. So it says it's a passkey native wallet infrastructure for social distribution. There's no passwords, no seed phrases. Passkeys live inside the iCloud, so the Google Password Manager or hardware device. So social logins, if you've ever seen things like log in with X, log in with Google, like we have with Agent Hustle, and you can even go a little bit step further where they say one ID every chain, tie single ov.id to wallets on Bitcoin, ETH, EVM, Solana, or whatever is the point. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's your kind of go-to-market plan on this? Is this trying to kind of copy the Privy plan, where you're literally reaching out like one by one to teams to try and integrate, or what's the strategy to kind of get users?
So great question. Yeah, actually, one thing that we are doing is we're going to be going live with our mainnet and opening up the SDK for developers to use on mainnet very soon, probably in about 2 months' time, less than 2 months' time. And we're already reaching out to developers. There are already developers ranging from people who are building wallets for large set of population to people who are actually building retail, who already have a retail chain for hundreds of outlets. They want to integrate our solution into their existing products. So we do have actually developers interested in this quite a bit. And another thing is right now we are actually on Bitcoin L1, but we're going to be opening up to a lot of L2s as well. So this is like one ID, one login that works across everywhere.
Now tell me, actually, because this is one thing I didn't really look into with Privy. Like, what's the model for revenue, or is there a model? Is there no model for revenue in this sort of situation?
It's basically software as a service.
So are you charging the team for installations, like by installations or something like that? Is that the model like Privy used?
Yeah, so it's basically in our case, it's going to be free to start. You can start building. Once you have traction, you would be paying something very little, and we're going to be offering obviously very competitive fees compared to Privy. Even though Privy is not even on Bitcoin, but still we're going to be offering very cheaper rates. And the other thing is, and of course, like we will be scaling as you grow, like what you pay. So it's a software as a service.
Gotcha. And so, like, your guys, are you guys really leaning into, Bitcoin right now? Is that the kind of strategy? Like, obviously Privy's kind of dominating and has all the mind share for the other chains, I guess you'd say. Is the idea that, look, what we can do is we can dominate, lean in with Bitcoin and kind of lead with that? Is that the kind of marketing strategy?
Yes. And so basically Bitcoin and L2s that are really working on Bitcoin, and also Lightning. So that's our current strategy. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So you guys' target, this is more of a B2B product, right? So you're going to go and partner with people like Xverse or Unisat or Leather Wallet or Magic Eden Wallet. I'm just saying specific to the Bitcoin ecosystem at this time. And what is the type of pitch to them for them to integrate, this type of service as somebody like Xverse who's established, right? They have users who, buy the hundreds of thousands at this point. What makes this attractive to them, and what's the type of pitch that you offer to them?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, our main users are not wallet providers, but rather developers who are building products that require their users to log in with a Bitcoin wallet, to log into a Bitcoin wallet. And the whole thing is we are an embeddable experience where user doesn't need to install anything. They just click a button and scan their Touch ID or Face ID, and that's it.
Yeah, it would seem to me like your ideal client would be not even in business yet. It's like you want to catch people before, when they're mid-build, not ready, not having launched, right? That's your ideal client.
Or if a developer wants to give their, if a developer wants within the application to give a better experience of onboarding to the existing users. Yeah.
Also, something I want to add here is when you think about transportation as well, right? You always have the last mile transportation layer. For example, if you're going somewhere, you might take the train and your last mile might be an Uber, right? So how we are positioning ourselves is we're not going to be in competing in the sense with wallets, but more of giving users accessibility faster and cross device. So for example, if you have an OBID on an Apple device, on an iPhone, it would work across multiple platforms like your MacBook or even your Vision Pro, right? If you're going that road as well. So basically the idea is to have the OBID working as a last mile payment solution as well. So for developers to offer that as an additional option on top of the wallet integrations they already have.
Interesting. So what else are some of the features, of this application, right? You can obviously the kind of key innovation here, or you say new type of product, is using your Face ID or using your kind of fingerprint ID to log in like you do on an Apple device. But are there any other type of features now or that you plan to add that does not exist across industry or maybe is underutilized?
Well, I mean, there's two things I'd like to bring up if I could.
Sure.
Yeah, one of those is going back to that original point on pivoting. Our mission has always been to onboard people. We started off onboarding artists, then evolved to onboarding creators. But the big problem that we always stumbled into, and it's a problem that all decentralized applications run into, especially if you're onboarding people from Web 2, from the traditional web, is this stumbling block where you need to install a wallet. So regardless of what the wallet tech is using on behind the scenes, most wallets up to this point, if not all wallets that are at least self-custodial, have existed as an extension. You need to install that wallet. And it's a very strange experience for someone coming from the traditional web that wants to join a decentralized application to then have to stop in their tracks and go off and download a wallet, then install that wallet before they can even get started. So that's the big breakthrough really that we've had. Okay, it's based on passkey technology, blah blah blah. But the real selling point is this fact that we can onboard people without there being a need to install an extension, to install anything. And this means we can really get embedded into everyone else's applications. From a real retail perspective, where Shaf was talking, we provide the ability to embed our wallet service directly into an existing application that already exists. So there isn't this need for people to go off and install something new. I think that's the big thing that we've sort of not made clear up to this point.
Oh, well, I think that almost goes without saying. This is like, and we totally get this. This is like, there was no way we were going to onboard the rest of the world to crypto with seed phrases, right? That was never, ever going to happen. And so, yeah, you guys are definitely right there. We're with you 100%. This is definitely the future.
Yeah. So there's a few things on the website that I see in terms of the demo. So opening up the demo, you can choose a network. So like you have Bitcoin, then there's EVM, Ripple, etc. And some of the wallet features are send and receive BTC, view and transfer ordinals. Same with runes, rune swap, rare sats, etc. A user can generate a seed phrase. Take us through, just literally step by step of all the different components inside of this wallet. Obviously, we just talked about how to use it, right, through a passkey, which is, a different way to log into an account that's not a public key, private key situation, more of the traditional Web2 model. But now that I'm inside of the wallet, what exists, what type of features, and what makes Oviato kind of more of a superior product than some of the other things out there?
Yeah, actually a great question. So the way this works is, as a developer, when you log into Oviato dashboard, when you're creating an application, you have the ability to turn on and off any of these features and more, right? We're going to be adding a lot more features, even things like being able to create a backup key and store it in another device, maybe hardware device, right? So a lot of these features, as a developer, you'll be able to turn it off and on. And we also provide a wallet UI that is embedded inside the developer's app. So you don't have to, as a developer, you don't even have to go through the pain of building whole UI if you don't want to, but you can still use our SDK to build your own UI even. So the experience can be as custom as the developer wants, or they can use our existing wallet UI with like color combination changes and logo changes, so to make it feel like it's theirs.
What are some of the,
just
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just to add, so we do have like all the features that you look at any other wallet, right? Transferring funds, signing a message, or even signing a transaction as well, right? So these things are already baked in. So any request, any request that's there to sign a message or anything like that, which pops over to our ecosystem, and user basically unlocks their wallet or using the passkey during that activity only, so that it's the interaction itself is secure as well. Just
Tell me what you guys like. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have done research on Privy. I have not. Tell me what you think are the top 2 or 3 things you think they did like right. What was the things that they really did that moved the needle for them? Was it the onboarding was easy, the SDK was easy for developers, or was it just the reach out? Like, what are some of the things you think Privy did like really well?
I think one thing they made it really easy is to onboard new people to use the applications. That was the one thing they did. You basically, it feels like you're using a Web2 application, right? You sign in with your email. So what we are doing is we are making it even easier. Basically, previous model has, from where we see, has been like, it's for the current world. But if you look at where passkey is going, where all these big companies like Microsoft and Adobe and even Google pushing heavily on passkeys and building on passkeys, we think that this is the future of a passwordless experience, and that's why we actually like building on passkeys, and we think this is the right bet. Yeah.
So it says here, a passkey is a FIDO authentication credential based on FIDO standards. It allows users to sign into apps and websites with the same process they use to unlock their device. So biometrics, PIN, or a pattern like you can use on your Apple smartphone or Android device. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? As Adam said, the traditional web experience the traditional crypto experience is pretty broken, to say the least. I mean, this is why we've kind of dove really headfirst into the AI world, is we think like AI is going to completely transform the wallet experience, but like the interaction with the chain. themselves. So we are kind of on two sides of the same coin here, where we think AI is going to completely transform how users interact with crypto on chain, right, through kind of natural language. But then we also use passkeys as well to sign in with your social accounts. The web wallet experience, or I'll call it the kind of traditional crypto experience, is not going to proliferate here in the future. The majority of people at this point who are entering crypto, are much less on the cypherpunk scale than maybe all of us or the people who came before us had those ideals, dealing with PHPs and all that type of stuff. Users need it to be literally dead simple and familiar with what they're doing today in order to interact, or they're just simply not going to use it. And, maybe then at that point, if we can't fix it, crypto is just going to be a tiny, small place of an echo chamber of passing around the same money. It's actually become so simple now that, as we said at the beginning of the show, crypto is now moving to traditional rails because the crypto experience is still not equitable for, the everyday person to interact with.
So
I think
something interesting about passkeys is that passkeys have been around for about 10 years now already. And the reason that most people have added it as a service is because they were originally designed just for authentication purposes only. And for almost the first 8 to 9 years of passkeys' existence, that's all that they could do. Interestingly, about 2 years ago, they started working on extensions, like more added modules that could be added onto passkeys. And these added modules, such as pseudo-random functionality and large blob storage, allow you to build new use cases and applications on top of the passkeys. And we got into passkeys at that right time when the extensions came out. And when we say we are passkey native, this is why we are passkey native, because we're using the more recent extensions, modules that have been added onto the specification to provide the secure functionality that we provide. And we're doing this because Apple and Google are the ones that are pushing for these new modules and are the ones that are adding the support in the browsers. And this is what also allows us to be cross-browser compatible right across the board. Firefox, Safari, Chrome, we can support it all.
One question, and this was just for my own understanding, and I really like it, with Apple. I'll take Apple because it's an easy example that people are familiar with, right? When I go to log in from a different device or whatever, it pops up on a completely separate device asking for a number, right? Is that functionality possible with what you guys are doing?
Well, that's the beauty. With Apple, it's interesting because passkeys themselves are based on a HTML specification called a WebAuthn, and it was designed for everyone to hold their own keys on their own devices. When you're using Apple or Google, the passkey service that they provide, it's through the iCloud. So your keys, your WebAuthn keys, are not actually on your device, but they're on Google's or Apple's device. And you have a separate key on your device that it authenticates and allows you to communicate with the iCloud device. But this sounds funky at first, but the benefit of this, as you point out, is any device you go to, you can reclaim that same key. And when those keys are tied to Bitcoin, this means that if you lose your device, you lose your hardware, you can actually recover those keys into a new device. It's the sort of pros and cons of using the Google and Apple passkey system as opposed to the underlying WebAuthn protocol.
Yeah, and I just want to add here also, of course, the majority of people use Apple and Google's passkey. I mean, to store their passkey on Apple and Google, but your passkey can be stored anywhere in terms that supports passkey, right? So, for example, if you look at the new Ledger devices that has come out, the new Ledger wallet has something called Secure Key. I believe it's called Secure Key, where you can store your passkey. So if you don't want to store your passkey, the Oviato passkey that you generate inside, for example, your iCloud or Google account, you can store it in a Ledger wallet, or you can store it even in a YubiKey. So it's up to the user how secure you want to store that key.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So where is your guys' traction with this now? You mentioned, excuse me, in Vegas, there were teams that you had talked with who were interested in using it. You obviously just you announced this 3 weeks ago or so, 3-4 weeks ago. Who is using this type of product? Is there any kind of leads? And yeah, what's the kind of plan here over the next, I guess you could say, or maybe remainder of the year?
So we are actually, we announced this, I think a little over 10 days ago to the public. And we are going, yeah, we're going to be, of course, we're already talking to developers, and there is all kinds of developers, right? Like I mentioned earlier, there is a coffee chain. There's like over 700 outlets who want to integrate our solution into their existing products, so people can pay with Bitcoin, people can pay with Lightning, their coffee. So the whole thing is like, being able to pay for your coffee with Bitcoin. So finally, that dream is also going to come true to a lot of people. But yeah, I think the whole thing is, we of course opening up for partnerships and for people who are running hackathons and accelerators to provide our tools for free, so these people can use to onboard and easily build on top of it, right? And like I mentioned earlier, we actually looking at going live with mainnet in late August. So from now until then, we are already building up the interested first batch of developers who are going to be using our tools. Yeah. So the traction is actually looking really good. Yeah. We have traction from range of like people who are building a wallet for millions of users to somebody who's just building a simple swap. So there's a wide range of people who are interested. Yeah.
That is,
I think I wanna highlight a bit about onboarding and one thing Privy and others who are already in the space did well is the onboarding component, and why onboarding is so fast on these platforms are because they use email, right? And email is something that's questionable, I guess. It's good enough for some application, but then the onboarding speed of an email versus a wallet, then again email is faster, right? And then we did some testing on our demo as well, and we were able to bring it down to less than 5 seconds, somewhere around that. So I think that's actually the power of actually getting someone onboarded on a platform for a developer especially. And also we wanted to see how everyone loves Apple Pay and all these other payment solutions that across the mobile, right? And everyone is very used to this experience as well. So we wanted to kind of have that experience as closely towards an Apple Pay experience, even if you were transferring Bitcoin or signing a message as well. So these were like sort of like the key things or key highlights. And just to add, we've been working on the wallet, the infra for over a year, and we were able to get out the testnet just around May. Apple released a iOS update, which actually allowed us to get the testnet live. So the idea, playing around with this has been around for over a year. And where we come from is, as you guys know, Oviato used to be, or Oviato, the brand is known for creators. We have a beautiful studio, easily create, drag and drop, create a collection and all of that. And one thing we realized is that we were able to onboard over 20,000 creators, but that number could have been over 100K, right? Like if the experience was so simpler, and one of the biggest struggles, new artists, a lot of new artists were pretty hyped about ordinals, and they wanted to get in, but the problem that they faced was the onboarding, and there's more education there that needs to be done. So I think this is going to be game changing, at least from a developer perspective. Once we get the SDKs out, people play around, And before I wrap up, we have our demo live. I would love to have everyone try out the demo, experience it. I think it's one of those things where you got to try out and see how it works.
One question I have, just because I don't really know the answer to it. Like I completely believe in this technology. I believe it's the way forward. But at the same time, for crypto natives all in this space who don't necessarily want to. I mean, you're not going to hold the majority. I consider these are hot wallets. You never hold your majority of your funds in hot wallets. Do you guys see a future where your offline cold storage is still done in this sort of way? I know, what was it? Jack Dorsey he's got a solution that's like, it's like a chip on a separate device in your phone. It's like, do you see some sort of integration between these two kind of models for storage in the future, just because you guys are working in the space where it's a combination of these two? Or how do you guys look at it, kind of balancing, cold storage with hot wallets, and what kind of future do you foresee there? If that made sense. Does that make sense, that question?
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself. Yeah, it totally makes sense, right? The thing is, the technology that we are building, it can be used if a user wants to. So when I say a user, I'm here referring to an end user who is using an application that someone has built. It can be used just with the passkey that is stored on your iCloud to do simple transactions. Or it can be used to do multi-sig transactions where there's also a backup key that is stored on basically the key is stored on a YubiKey. So it's up to the user to actually secure it as much as they want, and it's possible. And the whole thing is, this is still self-custody. Like basically the whole thing is self-custody. Even the seed phrase, right? The user is generating their own seed phrase if they want to. If they don't want to generate seed phrase, there is no seed phrase. Unlike all the other wallets, they basically, at the sign up process, they generate a seed phrase and tell you, okay, store this somewhere safe. Yeah.
I think one thing I want to add is, like, there are multiple journeys, as Shaf mentioned, right? Like, you can combine it with a hardware wallet. You can have multiple different ways to secure it. But at the same time, all modern hardwares, including iPhones and most of the Android devices out there, they have a separate TPU for storing passwords and, especially related to passkeys, right? So I would not compare that same as a hardware key. If you are if you're deep in crypto and an anxious version, I would say you would still be better off with having a backup on a hardware wallet. But that security is actually covered from Apple and Google, at least on their side. And then there is the flexibility. If you're using a software like Bitwarden or 1Password, or even your self-hosted passkey managers, that's also possible, right? So there's a lot of options basically available for a user when they are onboarding, basically.
And also another thing I want to add is, you can store the key, the pass key, not the Bitcoin key, the pass key, anywhere that basically supports it. So for example, in a YubiKey, so now you have to have your phone and a YubiKey hardware to access your wallet. And basically the interface is still on your phone or wherever the developer has built the experience, but the end user cannot use it without this extra hardware device that they basically have to secure themselves again. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Also, interestingly, we're talking about using the additional extensions and modules that are available to the passkey protocol. There is one that's being worked on right now, and that Apple are hoping to include in one of their recent new updates, and that is regarding the transference of passkeys, securely transferring a passkey from one owner or one device to another device. And once that's available for us, that's massive because we are passkey native. So that means you can actually transfer funds without paying network fees.
So tell me about moving into OV.Fun, which was your older product. You mentioned that you're going to try to integrate components of this into the Oviato wallet, as well as I'm curious on how this transition for the company is going to be, where you built and raised around the premise of kind of an Ordinals or Bitcoin Studio. You found this other tool that you had built internally that people like to or would like to use and maybe has a little bit more traction. So what happens to OV.Fun and what are the plans of integration between the two?
Yeah, so OV.Fun is actually, the whole idea is that it's basically the playground for us to provide experiences using our own tools, right? So our own SDK is going to be powering the login experiences. And of course, people will be still able to use other wallets, but we will offer, on OV.Fun, we'll offer incentives for using the Oviato Wallet Connect. So now, like for things like, cheaper rates when they're inscribing and things like that, right? And the whole idea is, again, I want to repeat, we are not.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I want to repeat that we are not stopping working on ordinals, but we are just working on something that's going to onboard a lot more people to ordinals. And we are also going to be using our own SDKs to improve Ovi.Fun. Yeah, so the integration would be, again, it's the best place for us to showcase how easy it is to mint something, how easy it is to use something. And also on the social distribution part, actually, we will be showing how easy it is to embed an experience that you create inside Ovi.Fun using our own. I mean, of course, we provide inside Ovi.Fun by using our own SDKs, how easy it is to create a minting experience inside Twitter. So we've of course already built these demos to try and see how much we can push the Twitter embed. So imagine you just tweet a link and you don't have to actually open a different website. So this is we're just seeing how much we can push this experience without breaking the Twitter's terms and condition. The thing is, this embed experience works across the web. You have a Webflow or Framer website, you can just embed the experience in there. And it comes with Wallet Connect minting or Wallet Connect swapping and all of it baked in.
Yeah, I think
and without
just
installing anything, I just want to add, sorry.
Yeah, just to add, Ovi.Fun is going to be more powerful actually with Oviato SDK because Ashraf mentioned embeddable experiences, right? And we were actually internally celebrating the other day. We created the first Bitcoin wallet inside Twitter with an embedded experience. So we were just trying things out. We haven't shared it public yet, but it was quite exciting because you can actually build these experiences inside Twitter, and Ovi.Fun is going to be that platform for, let's say you want to distribute, right? Distribution here can mean like you want to swap a token, you want to launch a token, or you want to launch a collection, or you want to offer other services, right? And that's going to be where the next stage for Ovi.Fun, I believe. Basically, Studio is already there. We have an internal launchpad. So we're going to bake those products into embeddable products. So just so that there is a very powerful social distribution there.
Yeah, so I just want to paint a picture here. Imagine as an artist, I create my artwork, I inscribe my artwork, or I set up my artwork inside Ovi.Fun, and I tweet a link. And the link says, here's my artwork. If you like it, mint it, please, right? And for people who are seeing this tweet, it's not just a link, it's actually an embedded experience where they can select the quantity, unlock their own wallet, pay for this artwork, and get it. that's basically the experience that is possible using the social distribution, the embed part of
The
SDK.
closest thing I would say a similar experience would be Solana Blinks, but for Solana Blinks to work, you need to have at least a Solana supporting wallet, right? So again, we're going back to the same ethos of, we don't want user to install any application or any extensions, and it should work natively, as Mark mentioned, natively across all the devices, right? So that's where we are going back to, and the embed experiences work similarly.
Yeah, that's the reason why the Solana one didn't work. It was like it required that extra step, and people want to do 0 steps, right? Yeah, for sure. And I love that you guys are building actual use cases, even though that may not be, where your client actually is, but building the use cases so that people can just see how to use it. I think it's really cool and definitely important. Very cool, man.
Well, so social and embed is really kind of where the market's starting to move. If you look at Banker bot using SocialFi, where people can mint NFTs on the timeline or reply to a post and get airdropped a specific amount. And then obviously Blinks that you'd mentioned, right, with trying to integrate different types of crypto mechanics directly into Twitter, right? Because Twitter is kind of really the crypto metaverse at this point. Like it's not going to be a piece of land inside of Decentraland. It's literally crypto is the metaverse. So trying to bring all of that tooling to, this kind of traditional metaverse of X.com, then that's where people want to be. We do see some pushback from crypto natives who like the more traditional kind of experiences, but it is a kind of a longer game. And obviously the traditional companies like Stripe are seeing, where this is headed. And that's why they would acquire something like Privy, because they know embeds, they know easy logins, they know kind of simple one-click setups and one-click setup or one-click actions is where not crypto natives maybe, or maybe they'll be slower mover, but where literally 3-4 billion people in the world who've not interacted with crypto will be using.
Be careful though with because I know I've talked a lot with the Etho guys. They were just kind of banned on Twitter recently. They got their accounts back, but you have to be really careful with the way you interact, or you have a bot interact on X. Just be really careful. I can definitely hook you up with those guys where you can talk to them or whatever and kind of get some best practices. Because if you just suddenly get a lot of attention and all of a sudden all your accounts are gone, right? So you got to be really, really careful with what's happening on X.
That's it. Yeah, thanks. That's actually something that we are very mindful about, because we want to make sure that we're not breaking any terms and conditions of Twitter. And surely that doesn't still guarantee that we're not going to get banned, but still, we are staying on the safe side, but with tools that we are building. But thanks. I would love to connect with them.
Sure.
And see what their experience is, trying to push the envelope a little bit on the.
He's a good guy. I think actually the smart move is kind of paying to upgrade your account. You don't necessarily have to do the $1,000 one, but you do have to do kind of the midpoint one, whatever, $200 a month one, and then get into discussions with them preemptively with their support to show that you're a good faith actor and stuff, and let them know what you're going to be doing and actually discuss with them. It seems to be the strategy ahead of time rather than get banned and then try to fix it after. Just as a heads up. And if you are going to be pulling or pushing, paying for their, $5,000 a month API probably isn't going to work for your budget, but certainly I know Ethos ended up paying the $5,000 one because they are actually pulling some data from X. So it's just
seeing a lot of people get banned for really abusing Twitter.
And supposedly, I guess, I actually just talked with the Etho guys on Space this morning, and supposedly what he feels, they didn't say this explicitly, but what he got from the conversations were X is basically trying to protect their platform from scrape from LLMs scraping their data. And so anything that they feel like could be potentially somebody scraping data, they're going to be very harsh with that. So yeah, that seems to be the main focus of what they're trying to prevent.
Yeah, we're definitely safe there because we don't scrape anything, but it's just yeah, I would love to still have a chat with them to see what their experience is, because we want to make sure that we're not breaking any terms and condition with the experiences, some of the experiences that we are providing, or making it possible for other people to provide. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all comes down to money at that point.
Yeah, and also I know we're talking about Twitter here, but this whole embeddable experience, end-to-end experience, works on Discord, works on any web view. So if you want to put it inside a mobile app in a web view, it works. Or if you want to put it in your existing Wix website, it works as well. Yeah, but I know Twitter is where most of the mind share is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people try to market outside of crypto with just TikTok and Instagram accounts and stuff, and it just does not work at all. But there will be a point where it does work and it's completely shifted. But the tooling is going to need to be much better, and that's why you guys are coming into place to really kind of capture that very large market. There's going to be a huge educational obstacle that you guys have to overcome, but that's why we play the game. I don't have any more questions. Adam, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. I love what you guys are doing. Definitely directionally right. Big challenges. I mean, we all have big challenges, right? To actually hit, you gotta hit some stuff right. But I love the direction of what you guys are building.
Yeah, you guys should reach out to Bunzi from Laser Eyes. He has the #1 Bitcoin wallet library. So chatting with him to get this integrated would probably be like a pretty good option.
Yeah, we're already actually chatting with him.
Oh, good.
He's a really cool guy. Hung out with him in Vegas and just showed him what we were working on, and super excited. Yeah,
Awesome.
we're definitely looking at that. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it, Shaf, Oviato guys. I'll give you, one final, comment or anything that you'd like to give to us and to the community and all the people who are watching, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jack Adam. Thanks for having us here. Yeah. So the final piece here is that if you are building an app on Bitcoin, if you are thinking of building an app on Bitcoin, you have an idea that you want to explore, reach out to us. We will help you with the integration of our SDK, and we will basically show you how easy it is to use this SDK, and you can focus on building the experience of the app rather than wrangling the wallet integrations and UTXOs and all of this stuff. We just make all of it extremely easy. So yeah, just hit any one of us. Tef is here on this call, or you can just drop a message to Oviato or Apo or Mark. We'll help you with it.
I appreciate that. I see Arwin in the crowd as well. So speaking for him, you're gonna have to integrate stamps and counterparty into it to support. So don't forget about some of the OG protocols out in the space. Until then, I really appreciate everyone for joining us. Please make sure that you're following the Emblem Vault account. We host a show Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Next week, we are going to have on, we're going to have 2 AI shows. I believe next Thursday we have on forget what the company is called, but we do have 2 AI focused shows.
The flagship.
Flagship. Yeah, flagship AI, and then we'll do the DeFi AI show. And we'll cover Agent Hustle, the migration, and everything that's been going on in our ecosystem. Until then, thank you, Oviato. Thank you, Shaf, Mark, everyone, Apo, who's on stage. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.